You can't tell me you weren't inspired by the recent Paris 2024 Summer Olympics and weren't brought to tears by Simone Biles, Suni Lee, and none other than our friend Steve, and proceeded to try the infamous wolf turn on your living room floor only to realize that that shit is 10,000 times harder than you think it is. And if you said no, it's not me, you're definitely lying. I can see through your lies through my screen. Does a figure skater have the same level of balance, flexibility, and coordination to attempt and pull off a wolf turn in gymnastics? Well, today, my friends, you're in luck because you're about to find out. Hello, friends of the internet, and welcome to my channel. My name is Kathy. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. I'm a 25-year-old competitive figure skater and ex-competitive volleyball player living and training in New York City. And here on this channel, we talk everything about sports, athlete life, figure skating, and more. I also exist on Instagram where I also make fun little tidbits about sports and figure skating. So every 4 years, me, you, and the rest of the world get reminded by the sheer mind-blowingness, I'm not even sure if that's a word in the English dictionary, of Olympic artistic gymnastics. And I do think that there are some interesting parallels as well as key differences between figure skating and gymnastics that I would love to talk about before we dive headfirst into watching me actually attempt some gymnastics and just absolutely embarrass myself on the internet. So, connections between gymnastics and skating. Other than sharing a very similar pool of overly passionate fans who both crave their other respective sport when it's the Summer Olympics versus the Winter Olympics, respectively, there are indeed some other similarities between the two sports. Really obvious, but gymnastics and skating both require an insane degree of balance, flexibility, and coordination. And I will say both just seemingly likes to defy the laws of gravity and physics. So here's where I think gymnastics and skating are different, and the differences are quite interesting. The one thing I will say is skating does have a slightly stronger musical component to it because all of the events essentially listed under the figure skating umbrella at the Winter Olympics is a routine choreographed to a full piece of music. So the most similar comp in gymnastics would probably be the floor exercise, especially the women's floor exercise, which is actually choreographed to music similarly to how figure skating is, but overall the other gymnastics event actually does not include choreography to music. So that's one key difference. And the second difference is that certain disciplines in figure skating do have two people instead of one, versus gymnastics is always competed one person at a time. For figure skating, there's two disciplines that include two people, and that is ice dance and pairs figure skating. Another key difference between figure skating and gymnastics is the fact that gymnastics requires a lot more lateral rotation. So instead of rotating this way, you rotate this way a lot of the times in some of the flips and tumbling passes and the vaults that you see gymnasts do on TV. Pretty much if you ever watch figure skating and seen us jump, we almost always jump and rotate vertically like this, with very few exceptions of pairs and ice dance, where in certain lifts the girl's head might be facing the ground. Or for example, in pairs figure skating, if you ever seen a pair perform a move called a triple twist, where a woman is being thrown by a man into the air and she rotates horizontally, similar to gymnastics in some aspects, and gets caught by the man. But other than those cases, typically we try to avoid our head being under our feet like this because of the severe risks that it has, because it is significantly riskier to rotate horizontally instead of vertically. So actually, fun fact, in figure skating, the backflip is actually a banned move in figure. Recently, you also probably seen figure skaters Nathan Chen and Adam Xiaohen attempt backflips, but most of the time for fun, because if you actually do a backflip in a competition like Adam did here, you will actually get a deduction because it's an illegal move now. Mostly to probably protect the skaters, because if you land on your head, the ice is hard, you do the math, bad things will happen. And I think unlike in gymnastics, unlike in certain events, there are spotters. There's no really a spotter on the ice when you perform a routine at the Winter Olympics. It's just kind of a free-for-all, like good luck, hope you don't die out there. The other really interesting thing that I do want to share is I think figure skating actually requires a bit more cardio than gymnastics. I think they require the same amount of strength, flexibility, and coordination to pull off, but I think cardio is the one thing that figure skating harps on a bit more, and I will explain why, and most of that lies in the duration of the events. Don't get me wrong, cardio stamina is important in a lot of sports, and most sports, and probably in gymnastics too, and if you're a gymnast watching this, please do leave a comment down below to give me some more insight, because I'm just speaking from a figure skater's perspective. So from my research, women's gymnastics has 4 key events, and that is vault, uneven bars, balance beam, and floor. And on the men's side, they have 6 events, and it is floor exercise, our favorite, the pommel horse, rings, vault, parallel bars, and high bar. So from the research that I was able to gather from the internet, it seems like some of the gymnastics routines and events do have time limits. So for example, a beam routine has to be max 90 seconds, I believe. Floor has to be max 90 seconds for women's, and uneven bars is 30 to 90 seconds, but there's technically no official limit. But if you fall, you do have like 30 seconds to unmount. Once again, this is from my internet research. Gymnasts, correct me if I'm wrong. And from what I can glean for the men's side, the floor routine is max 70 to 75 seconds. So it seems like from my research, a lot of gymnastics routine max out at kind of the 90-second mark, versus a lot of the events at the Olympics, especially the long program or the free skate event for men's and women's, is usually clocking close to a 4-minute mark. So just kind of imagine jumping, doing a HIIT workout, sprinting while being flexible for 4 minutes straight. The long program or the free program in figure skating is notoriously known as death. Because of that, I do think this makes a really interesting difference between the two sports, where figure skating kind of requires more cardio stamina, while gymnastics requires more cardio explosiveness. From what I can tell, a lot of the running in gymnastics is really kind of a sprint, and you have to be able to generate explosive power really, really fast from a sprint, whether it's doing a vault or doing a tumbling pass on floor. I would say in terms of the muscle groups that are used, a gymnast definitely probably have to use more arms and shoulders than we do. Don't get me wrong, figure skating definitely does require you to be really strong in all aspects, but I would say between the two sports, core and legs are both equally really critical for both figure skaters and gymnasts, but I feel like gymnasts do use their upper body, generally speaking, more. I think the only place that that statement could really be challenged is for some events in skating that do require 2 people, like pairs and ice dance. Like I mentioned, the guy does a lot of times have to lift the girl, especially in pairs, over his head while doing all the other crazy shit that they're doing. So I do think that in that aspect, a lot more arm strength is needed. And also, I do think that the women's upper body strength also has to be stronger in those disciplines, because they also have to put in equal strength in their core and their arms to hold up those positions, even though their partner is holding them up. So before we jump into me actually trying stuff, let me explain to you what I'm wanting to try today, and that is the wolf turn. You've probably seen it all over TikTok, you've probably seen it all over Instagram, of people trying to attempt this in their living room, albeit most unsuccessfully. So the wolf turn to a naked eye actually looks quite similar to something that we have in skating called the sit spin. And from my personal opinion, I do think the sit side variation of the spin that we have in skating is probably the closest to a wolf turn. And that is a spin where both of our thighs are parallel to the ice at 90 degrees, while our free leg is kind of extended to the side and outwards, while we continuously rotate and balance while spinning on one foot. So seems similar, but in reality, there's a lot of physics and other shit that I probably don't even understand to that level of detail that makes the wolf turn actually harder than a sit spin. So oddly for me, getting so low on ice is actually way easier than hitting the wolf turn position just on my regular living room floor. And that is because on the ice, we have momentum. So if you've been tuning into the Olympics like me, and if you watch gymnastics, you will see in the most part, gymnasts will start their wolf turn in the position at a standstill and then go into rotation. Versus in figure skating, most of the time, if a skater is going into a sit spin, they are already in motion and moving, and they do a spin entry. So due to things that I don't understand in physics, it is way easier to spin on the ice and also get more revolutions. So if you ever watch figure skating during a Winter Olympic cycle, you'll see that typically when we're in a spinning position or a sit spin position, we hold way more revolutions than a gymnast does in a wolf turn, because in theory, a wolf turn is much harder to get more rotations on, because you're not starting from a place where you already have momentum. So you're seeing world-class gymnasts like Simone Biles do something called a triple wolf turn, which means essentially a wolf turn with 3 rotations. And this is contrary in figure skating, where the best figure skaters can probably hold a sit spin for more than 20 revolutions. But all that to say, I will say it is much easier to keep that momentum when you're on a slippery surface, versus I feel like when you're on the beam or on a floor, I feel like it must be so hard to kind of generate energy and generate rotation and hold on to that sweet spot. Essentially, from doing a lot of research and watching endless wolf turn videos, I have come to these couple of points summarized for all of you guys. This is how you do a wolf turn. So apparently your center of mass when you start is obviously in your torso, the largest part of your body. So when your center of mass is above a point of support, things will be stable according to physics. And that is very much similar to skating. In skating, we often spin on our blade in a sweet spot. So contrary to popular belief, we do not spin on the entire length of our blade. We will probably eat shit if we do that. If you look closely at a pair of figure skates or a pair of professional figure skates, you'll actually see that the blade is curved. So that is because we have something called a rocker or a rock to the blade. So the blade is not flat linearly like this, because when we spin, we actually put a little bit more pressure close to the spot that is right behind our toe picks but before the center of our blades. And that is the small millimeters of space that we have to balance on in order to make sure that we continuously generate speed and don't lose the spin. So similarly to my understanding, gymnasts do this as well, except they do this kind of in the ball of their foot. So I think essentially I really need to think hard about just squeezing my core and making sure that I don't lean backwards or forwards, because I think if I lean too back or too forwards, I will definitely fall. And I think this is another point that's similar to skating, is that a lot of tutorials say when you turn, you actually try to bring your arms kind of closer to your body when you spin. And that's very much so in line with what I learned from training in figure skating, because a lot of times, as you can see in figure skating, we start a spin kind of wider and then we pull our body parts in, whether if that's our lower body or squeezing our arms in tightly around our chest. That kind of helps increase our rotational force and make us rotate faster. I always thought it was interesting what gymnasts do with their hand, because to me they look like they're doing like a little balance check thing. It is described that rotational speed increases as inertia decreases. So those things are inverse. I vaguely remember that from high school physics. So it is said that when you're trying to stop a wolf turn, you want to spread your body out, which increases the moment of inertia. This does also make sense. I think we very similarly have something in figure skating. Figure skating, every time we come out of a jump or we come out of a spin, you see us hit a position that looks something like this. This is called a landing position in figure skating, which essentially is a position where we have our arms and legs out in a way that checks our body against the direction of rotation that we were rotating in, to essentially control and stop the rotation of whatever we were doing before. So I actually never thought about it that way, but I guess it checks out, because in our landing position, we are inherently spreading out all of our limbs, our arms and legs, to control the rotational force. So interesting stuff. Other things that I just need to learn for the proper form, it seems like there is one supporting leg and then your other leg is kind of out to the side and your toe is pointed. And then the extended leg needs to stay extended and completely straight. I have a feeling that the extended leg part is going to be a challenge. I remember when I first started figure skating, learning a sit spin with an absolute straight leg was also very difficult, because once again, going back to the physics, if your leg is bent, more of your mass is closer to the center of your body and your balance point, which is your core, and that makes it easier to balance. But if your leg is completely straight, that means more of it is out, which makes it harder to maintain your balance and rotate. And that is also why, my friends, being short for once is an advantage to both gymnast and figure skater, because we can keep our center of mass closer to our body. So for example, I skated with a pairs partner. If you haven't watched my pairs journey of me trying pairs figure skating for the first time, which is an absolute chaotic fun adventure, you can find the link to that video if you want to watch it. I'll link it in the description down below. But my partner was like over 6 foot, I think. So for him, he struggled a bit more with spinning because apparently his center of mass is just not as close to his body. So for once in life and in sports, being short is an advantage somewhere. And because embarrassing myself is apparently my favorite pastime, let's go attempt some wolf turns. Will I be successful? Who knows? I guess you'll find out if you watch to the end of this video. First, I'm going to start off by warming up because I don't want to do something stupid and injure myself and wipe myself out from my own skating season. I'm at my off-ice training class and we did this warm-up exercise that I actually thought was super helpful for the wolf turn. I worked on warming up the range of motions in my hips and inner thighs and the muscles that will be required for the wolf turn. As I side lunge down, I shift my weight twice. Once with my balancing foot turned out and then again with it turned facing forward. To hit this position, you also have to have really strong knees, so this exercise also prepped my knee for loading a lot of pressure. Then I just did a series of stretches because that was what I was training for anyways, and I thought it would be nice for me to get my body moving and stretching before actually attempting the wolf turn. These are my week 1 attempts, which I actually posted in a sneak peek on my Instagram if you follow me there, but you guys were all quick to call out that I literally did these first attempts the wrong freaking direction. My left ankle was a bit sprained that day from training, so I actually tried it on my right foot, and usually in skating, our right foot is our back spin leg, which means we spin backwards, but in gymnastics, regardless of what foot you turn the wolf turn on, it turns forward. So I guess you can call all these week 1 attempts a massive failure, but my friend, who is also a figure skater, however, is a legend and nailed it.
I think you'll get
In week 2, similarly to last week, I just did some full body dynamic warm up and stretches. My left ankle was feeling better this week, so I'm going to try to do it properly now. This floor is also not the move. It's very sticky, and I also don't have socks, so it's a bit hard to turn. Shout out to my friend for providing me a singular sock to try the wolf turn on, so it helped a little bit, but it was still a bit sticky. And as I guess, I'm having problems with keeping my free leg straight. That shit requires so much strength to keep everything extended and pointed. And I'm not sure what business I had doing a double when I can't even do a single, but here's my very embarrassing double wolf turn attempt. Also, somehow managed to get some of my other skater friends to join in again this week to give it a try. It summarizes and gives you an answer. If I just actually train this for maybe a month or so, I think I can probably do a single rotation. So to answer the question in short, yes, some figure skaters probably can and other figure skaters probably cannot. I think the main difference is the balance point is just really hard to find. Currently, in a moment, I fall into the cannot category, but we shall see. Stay tuned. Maybe I will post an update in a month or so of me actually being able to nail this. Alright friends, congrats, you made it to the end of the video and found out the result for yourself. I hope you guys had just as much fun watching this video as I did making it and attempting all these crazy things that we see the incredible athletes like Simone Biles and Suni Lee do on the big screens. If you like more videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. It will literally take you 1 second and I will love you 3,000, literally 1 second. Click the button right here. I post all things Olympics, sports, athlete life, figure skating related stuff on this channel every Saturday. Leave a comment down below if you've also tried this in your living room and if you were successful or not. Alright, till next time friends, I think I'm definitely going to have to go stretch and roll my quads out because they are burning, my friends. Alright, bye guys.
Boy, your honey sickly sweet keeps me coming, got me weak. You could kill me, I'd still be